Good afternoon, Diamond Springs Elementary, and welcome to your very first safari with us in the African bush. And we've got the most special animal of all of them, in my opinion anyway, and it is the beautiful leopard. Now, this is a female leopard, a little mommy leopard, and she's got a tiny cub at the moment, and I think that she's just left the little cub in its den site, and she's off maybe starting to stalk some animals. You see, look at the little tail. The tail is twitching quite a bit because she's spotted something, and when the tail twitches like that and moves from side to side, it means that she's interested and she's seeing something. So a tail is a good way to read a leopard's mind when it wants to know what's going on. So very exciting and a perfect way to start our safari. My name is Tristan, as Steve mentioned, and on camera today I have got Sebastian. And remember, if you want to know anything about this leopard, you can send all of your questions to your teacher and she'll send them through to us. Now we're going to try and keep up with this leopard and see what she's watching. Maybe there's something here that she's busy stalking, so she might be trying to hunt something like a antelope, so something like a deer that we get out here called an impala. It could be a duiker, which is a very small antelope. Also, she could be hunting something like a warthog. She's definitely interested. The way that she's walking, she keeps putting her head up. So what I want to do is just try and get around her a little bit. There, you see what she's stalking is impalas. So there's impalas over there that are just on the top of the ridge, and that's what she's looking at. You see them all there, and there's some little baby impalas, and she likes baby impalas. It's a small meal, and that means that she can actually go and grab it, and she can then carry it somewhere into a thicket and go and get her cub and take it to that area. So she likes to hunt smaller animals. Now I've got to be careful here because I can't see her from where I am. Seb, can you see her? So Seb at least can see her, which is good news. I don't want to spook the impala too much, so what I'm going to do is just go forward so I can park in a way that we can see both her and the impalas, and we'll get a better sort of idea of what's going on. The thing is that she's still very far away from these impalas, so it's going to take her a long time to get a little closer. So we're going to just position ourselves that we stop and we watch from here. I see there's quite a number of impalas in this area, so I'm going to just quickly go forward a little bit and we'll stop right here because this will be a good place for us to be able to watch her, as well as still keep an eye on the impalas that are just over my left hand shoulder. So she's still looking and she's working out now. A leopard is an animal that's not like a cheetah or lions that it will run from very far away. A leopard is what we call an ambush predator. Now, ambush means that it has to get into a place where it can hide, and then it waits for the animals to come very, very close. So when it's hunting things like impalas, it will wait for them to get within sort of 5 meters, and what's that in feet? Not even sort of 10 feet, and then it will explode using its fast sort of take off the mark to try and go after that prey animal. So it's going to be a situation that she's going to try and stalk her way closer first. Well, a very, very warm welcome, because it is warm here in South Africa, to this live broadcast from the wilds of the Greater Kruger National Park. As you can see, we've got a female leopard slinking through the bush, and the reason she's slinking is that she's busy hunting. So we've got here just at the perfect time. We've just found her. She spotted some impalas, and she's now going to start moving towards them. My name is Tristan. On camera today I've got Sebastian, and this is live and interactive, so you can ask any questions in the comment section below, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. Now, what I'm going to try and do is just slink forward a little bit. The impalas are just off in front of her, and so what she's trying to do is get herself into a bit more of a thicket. So let's just see if I can reposition myself slightly so that we can at least watch what's going on from the back, because she's using all the thickets in order to try and hide as much as possible. Leopards are very different from a number of other predators in that they rely heavily on their camouflage. So you can see the impalas and the leopard, they're both very close now. There's some more impalas that are coming from the right hand side, so there they are. You see them with their heads down feeding. They have no idea that there is a leopard here, and so she's going to try and use the cover of all this terrain to be able to get a little bit closer to where these impalas are. Now, Rashad, you're wondering why a leopard has spots. The reason a leopard has spots is for camouflage. It is incredibly difficult to see a leopard when it gets into a thicket because those spots, those patches of light and dark, break up that outline and make it sort of match the dappled light. You can see there's a bit of sun there, there's a bit of shadow, and she actually blends in incredibly well. If you go a little bit lower towards her tail section, you see how that section disappears. So once she goes down into the grass, it becomes very difficult to see her. So she blends in super well by having those spots. The only thing that doesn't blend in is that little white tip to the tail, and so that's something that we use sometimes to spot them, because otherwise they can be very difficult to see. And she'll use these spots now to try and get herself much closer to these impalas. She's still too far away at this stage. It'll take her maybe about 60-70 meters. Well, she'll take her probably a long time to get over those 60-70 meters, and what she's doing is she's watching the impalas trying to work out which way they're moving, and then she'll try and position herself in front of them and then sit in wait. The good thing for her is that a number of these impalas have small lambs at the moment. It's the lambing time of the year here in South Africa for this medium-sized antelope that we call the impala, and so a lot of the lambs are inexperienced, and it makes it easier for her to try and catch them. And the reason why she's also going after these small impala lambs is because she has a cub to feed at the moment, and so she's got to try and catch lots of different things to try and keep her milk up and make sure that that little one is feeding a lot. Now, Rusio, you want to know what an impala is? Well, that's an impala right there. It's a medium-sized antelope, so something very similar to what you would call a deer. It's a hoofed animal, and it is a grazer and a browser, so it's a herbivorous animal, which means it only eats vegetation. And they are very, very common here in southern Africa. We find them all spread throughout the southern part of Africa, and they particularly in this northeastern corner of South Africa, we have a number of them. In fact, they're the most populated antelope of all of them in this particular part of the world. And so it forms a very big part of a leopard's diet. Leopards love to go after things like impalas, and so you'll find that they spend a lot of time hunting them. Now, this leopardess that we see here, she's spent many years hunting. She's now around 11 years old. And so she has a very good technique when it comes to hunting. So she knows exactly what she's going to do. And while we kind of sitting here, she knows she just needs to sit still a little bit, watch what the impalas do. The impalas are probably wary that something's going on because they're kind of looking around and they're checking and just making sure that nothing's stalking up on them while they're busy feeding, because often they know that if there's noise of a vehicle that there might be something around. Also, there's a little breeze that's blowing, and so they could potentially just be picking up a bit of a sniff or a scent, and they might be a little bit nervous. You see, look how the nose is flaring. You see that impala, its nose is going up and down. It's trying to pull air into its lungs and trying to analyze that scent that's being put out by any animal out here, and it's trying to work out, is there something that I need to be worried about? It's looking in the completely wrong direction, so it's not looking anywhere near where this leopard is. They are facing the wrong way altogether. You can see they're not really sure. They know something is not quite right here, but they're not 100% sure what it is. And that's the thing about a leopard, is that it can create chaos because it goes unseen very easily, and these impalas don't really know what's going on. But you can see the distance there between the two of them. If this was something like a cheetah, you would find that that cheetah probably would have run already from where it is now in hunting these impalas. If it was lions, they might have broken cover, especially if other lions had looped around onto the other side. You might have found that the lion would have already run. But a leopard is a patience animal, so it will sit and it will wait and it will bide its time until those impalas get right into striking range, and then it will explode out with a serious amount of speed and agility and try and grab those impalas. So you can see she's just getting herself slightly lower, and watch how she lowers herself. It is slow, 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 because any bit of movement, impalas pick it up very, very quickly. You see, look, she's just dropping slowly into the grass, very careful about the way that she puts her paws, and there we go. You see, now she's down in the grass. Those impalas are going to have to stand right on her to be able to see her, and she's just giving us a little look at that as well. She's a beautiful cat, though. She's my favorite of the leopards that we see out here, and I was alluding to the fact that she's looking for food because she does have a cub. So her cub is very, very small still, It's only about between sort of 10 and 12 weeks old, so it's very little, and it's just starting to be introduced into meat. And because it's obviously small and it's growing and it needs to kind of get nutrients, she's having to kill quite a lot. And we've seen her finish an impala lamb yesterday afternoon, and now she's on the hunt again, trying to sustain that little mouth that's probably still ravenous, and it will feed off milk as well, but it is going to start going on to meat. But this is what's going to happen now. She's going to go into a sitting position where she's going to wait, and she's going to bide her time and hope that these impalas start coming a little bit closer. The impalas, though, are also very clever. They know that they need to watch out, and you'll see with them that while a couple of them are feeding, there'll always be one that will have its head up. So as the others feed, there's one that's kind of looking and checking what's going on. Not every single one of them will have their head down and be just feeding away, because once their head goes down, it makes it much easier for her to be able to then sneak up on them and try and grab one of them. So they need to be alert and pay attention. Now you'll see that the picture looks as though it's moving a little bit, and that's because it is an incredibly hot afternoon today. And so it's strange that there is a leopard hunting at this time. Generally, most people will tell you that leopards are nocturnal and that they're only active at night. Now you can see with this cat that is not true. She's hunting in early afternoon. It's still very bright, it's still very hot out here, and yet she's still taking an opportunity to hunt. So leopards are incredibly opportunistic. They will find if there's any sort of sign of an animal close by, they will hunt it. Whether it's 40 degrees, whether it's 120 Fahrenheit, 60 Fahrenheit, doesn't matter. Any chance they can get, and it doesn't matter if it's sun is out or if it's down at the time. So you'll find that they try and hunt more in the sort of twilight hours, but they will do hunting even in this time of the day as well. Now she's keeping a beady eye. She knows exactly what's going on, and what she's going to do is she's going to hope that these impalas all start to turn away from her slightly, and then she can start to use all of these thick little sections that are here to try and kind of loop along in the shadows and try and just sneak up a little bit closer, and then just sit and hope that the impalas start to come a little bit closer. But it's going to be a long patience game for her. She's going to have to sit tight and wait for quite some time. Also, the impalas might drift a little bit, so then she'll have to try and catch up and try and move in that direction. So we're just going to have to sit and wait and see how this all plays out. But very exciting nonetheless. It's always amazing to watch these big cats stalk and to see how the prey are just as adept at being able to spot a potential threat. You'll find sometimes they'll be able to kind of sniff it out, or they'll hear something, or they'll see something, and they then give that predator away by shouting and telling everybody else they've seen it. So it's this kind of, as the sort of saying goes, cat and mouse game, where she'll move a little bit, they'll move a little bit, and it's these testing of skills, trying to sort of outsmart each other. What she also might do is, because it's still very bright and very hot, she might wait until it gets a little cooler, until she decides to hunt. So she might wait until the light is the sun's a little lower, it's a little cooler, it gets a bit darker. It's much easier for her then to move around without being spotted in those darker moments. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to sit with this leopard. There is plenty opportunity for things to happen, so if anything does happen, we will go live again, so don't go away anywhere. Hopefully there will be lots of action still to come this afternoon, but for now we're going to just sit and let her rest, and then we'll catch up with all of you if anything does start to happen. Well, our leopard is decided it's no time for hunger now. It's time for a good afternoon nap. She's found herself the best possible spot. She knows impalas are close by and that hunting can take place a little later when it's not as hot as it is now. So she's going to, I think, have a bit of a sleep first before she does anything else. I think if I was a leopard in this heat, I would also go and find a nice spot just to have a little rest and try and wait until that sun gets a little lower and it gets a bit darker, and then it'll be much easier to go on a hunting spree. The other thing is that shame, she's probably been quite a busy female, because when you have a little cub as a leopard, it's a lot of time spent playing with that cub and making sure the cub is safe and checking on it and giving nutrients to it, and that will make her quite tired, and so she will need to have a little rest from time to time and try and sleep. And there you go, you can see she's just put her head down, and it's amazing. Look at, you see how well she blends in. Now you might have heard earlier I was saying that she's an ambush predator. Now ambush, like I was saying, is when this animal has to try and hide to chase after its prey, and you can see that those spots help it to camouflage. Now, camouflage means to hide away in the bush. So if you had to drive along now, that's what it looks like. Can you spot the leopard? You see how well it hides? It is incredibly good at hiding itself. So those little rosettes and those spots that it has are able to hide it away even in plain sight. So it takes you a while to be able to spot her when she's lying down in the grass. And look at those beautiful eyes, and there's a big yawn. See those teeth? You see how big she's got? Those big canines that she'll use when she tries to grab an animal, and then she's got those sharp triangular teeth running down the length of her mouth, which she uses to be able to chew and get little bits of meat once she catches an animal. But look how beautiful those eyes are. There's something very special, kids, about looking at a leopard in the eyes. They have this look that kind of seems to just look at you and wonder what you are, and it's amazing to see. Elliot, you're wondering how the leopard sees through the long grass. Well, Elliot, they've got very good eyesight, so they're able to see a little bit through it, and what they can't see, they're able to detect things with their ears. So they're able to hear, and they're able to use their whiskers. You see she's got very long whiskers, and those whiskers pick up the wind as it blows, and they basically tell her what's going on around her. It picks up any vibrations. Now, vibrations will be caused if an animal starts to walk, then you'll have a situation where that causes a little bit of a shake, and her little whiskers will pick that up. So if she can't see through the grass, she's going to use her ears and her whiskers to help her see in that area. So it's a very clever system that she's got. But you can see she's watching us now very carefully. She's just checking that we're not a threat in any way to her, making sure that she just checks how everything is going. And every now and then you'll see that little tail twitch. Okay, girl, no, enough. There we go. So this is very, very common for this female leopard. She sometimes gets a little bit on the grumpy side, and so she sometimes will show her teeth at us. She's just telling us that I see you there, you're close enough, stay where you are, and it's her way of dealing with things. And she does it every now and then. She can be a little bit growly, but it's nothing to worry about. We just have to give her some space and she'll be okay. Right, well, while we sit with her and see what she gets up to and see she's yawning, let's head back across to the Masai Mara and Kenya with Taylor with another big furry cat to show all of you.
Hello.
Well, no, the leopards are busy this afternoon, which is amazing because I didn't think they'd be busy this early. And you can hear there's some of the birds that are shouting at this leopard because she's walking. So they're warning everybody that they've seen a predator. But what she's doing is she picks up her tail. And earlier we saw the white of her tail, and she's now telling everybody, don't shout at me. I'm just coming here. I'm not hunting you. Leave me alone. Don't go after me or anything like that. And so that's why she's doing it. Now I'm going to try and just catch up with her quickly because she is going to go into a very thick area that we might not be able to follow her in. I think she might be heading towards the cub, so maybe we'll get lucky and we'll see a tiny little baby leopard as well, which will make my day for sure. Now we just got to try and get around this little mud wallow. So this little watery area, and there she goes. She's walking quite fast. I think she's going back to the cub. How exciting is this? Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get to see that little one, although she's stopping for a drink now. So I want to just try and get round to where she's drinking. She's a cat that sometimes can get a little bit thirsty, and so she does come to these drinking spots fairly regularly. So I'm just going to try and get in here where we can see her drinking. There we go. Seb, is that all right? So you can see she's just having a drink. The water is not very nice though. It's got lots of algae in it, but she's still going to have a quick drink. So she's going to lap up lots of water. Now, when leopards drink, they don't drink like you and I drink. We will put water to our mouth and we open our mouth and then pour the water in. It's very different with the leopard. They put their tongue to the water. You see, they put it down and it curls that little white tail that's curled up. And when a leopard drinks, that's often what you see, is the little tail just sticking up on the end. And that white is what I was talking about earlier. Now, when I was saying that she puts the white up to tell the other animals she's not hunting them, she also has that white tip to be able to allow her cub to see her as she walks. So as she's walking along, the cub will be able to see the white tip and be able to follow its mom as the mom takes it to wherever it's going to go. But she's a thirsty girl, and that's because it's so warm this afternoon. I'm not surprised she's so thirsty. I would have thought she would have definitely needed a drink. I certainly think that we might need a drink as well by the end of this afternoon. Caleb, you're wondering how fast leopards can run. Well, Caleb, a leopard is not the fastest of the cats, and so they don't go nearly as fast as some of the other big cats that we see out here. So she'll run at about 30 miles an hour, maybe a little bit less, even 25 miles an hour if it's a big male leopard who's a little bit heavier, but for a female leopard, about 30 miles an hour. Now, she's going into an area where I'm not sure we're going to even be able to follow her. I'm going to try and follow her, but I don't think we're going to be able to. Now, you might also see that there's other cars around. Now, these other cars are here because they have people that have come all the way out to South Africa to come and see these animals, and they're very lucky. They're on a safari of their own. You're lucky because you get to be in class and you can learn about all these animals, but those people have traveled all the way here to be able to see them. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to go any further at all, so what I'm going to do is go back to the road and just go around and see if I can get onto the other side there, because there's too many fallen over trees here, and it's well, indeed, because Thandi has led us straight back to her little one, who's just sitting behind her at the moment. So little cub is just sitting and taking it very easy, and I'm super surprised at Thandi's behavior this afternoon because, well, she wasn't with the cub, so we had 3 vehicles in the sighting, which is per normal when she's out and about and doing her things, and she led all 3 vehicles straight back towards the cub, which means that she's starting to kind of get used to the fact that vehicles see her with the little one. She's also not been in any way aggressive towards us at all, which is fantastic news. Now, you might be wondering where the cub is. The cub is directly behind her head, so it's just sitting in the grass behind her. I can just see its ear every now and then. It's been kind of playing around a little bit, so I'm pretty sure it will come out and it will come and say hello just now. It's a case of that it's going to hide for a few minutes, and just because we repositioned the car slightly because we couldn't really see very nicely, and so we just turned ourselves slightly. But if she turns her head, you might be able to see little one. Hello, little one. How are you? What you doing? Look at that. Is that not just the cutest face? I know we've been so spoilt with seeing this cub in the last few weeks, and especially in the last few days. Steve's sighting yesterday afternoon was phenomenal, of the little one being led to water, and now again to have her this afternoon. So we've had a number of drives with this cub, and the more time we spend with this little cub, the sort of more want to spend time with it. It's just the cutest little thing. It's got these big ears, these little curious eyes, and it's so playful. It moves around all over the place, although I think today it's a little on the hot side. I think it's having a tough time dealing with the heat. You can see mom is panting a little bit, and little cub I think is also quite hot, because I saw its mouth was open for a while and it was having a little nap there at some point, and it was just kind of watching what's going on. But look at those little eyes, kind of seeing everybody and just watching and paying attention. Now, I don't think that this cub is actually being denned anymore. I think it's a situation where she's leaving it in certain places when she goes hunting, and then if she kills, she's taking the cub with her. I don't think there's a situation where she's keeping it only in one place and is only going to go to wherever the cub is, or is going to go to the cub every day to suckle it and feed by herself. I think she's crossed that threshold now where she's going to take this cub wherever it needs to go and take it towards carcasses and various other things. So it's a great time now, and it's excellent that we're being able to witness this. There's a little tail. Hello, little tail. It's the cutest thing, this. We are so lucky and so privileged to be able to witness this, and to be able to show all of you and bring you along for the ride is the most special thing, because a leopard cub, there are many people out here, and I'm sure Steve alluded to the fact yesterday, and I was chatting to him about it after drive. He was telling me that this is the smallest leopard cub he's ever seen in his entire guiding career. Now, Steve has guided a lot, and he's guided in lots of different parts of Africa, and so it just goes to show you how privileged and how special it is, one, that we're in the Sabi Sands, and two, that we are able to spend time with with relaxed females like Thandi, like Karula, like Shadow, that allow us glimpses of these tiny little cubs every so often. It's absolutely wonderful, and we really are fortunate. I mean, it's not every day that you're going to get to witness something like this. We have been absolutely spoiled by the fact that she is around, and the fact that she's also denning right near the camp. I mean, it's literally not even 5-minute drive from the camp to where she's denning at the moment. We're being spoiled beyond measure, and like I say, the fact that she's allowing us these views is very, very special indeed. Little face, where are you going? Are you going to come and jump on Mom? It looks like it's going to come. Hello, little one. How cool is that? Yes, time for a little bath. We've obviously been up to no good and rolling around in sand and on all kinds of other things, so it's time for you to be cleaned. Look at that. Yes, Mom. Yes, clean me, Mom. My ears are dirty. Ooh. Or not. I think he's going to try and bite Mom's ear soon. There we go. It had to happen at some point. How cute is that? Look at the size of those paws already. I love cubs, whether it's a lion or a leopard, because both of them, their paws just are absolutely massive in relation to their size of their body. Look at that. This is so cool. Oh, we get so spoiled by these things. And particularly Thandi, she's absolutely wonderful. Now, I know she can be sometimes, like I say, she's sometimes a little on the grumpy side, but she really, lately, in the last couple days, has become so much more sort of relaxed with us, and she seems to be getting to the point where she's accepting, particularly of the wild earth vehicles. Something that I've noticed is that she seems to be more comfortable with these smaller vehicles and less people. The minute there's more people and larger vehicles, she tends to be a little bit more uncomfortable, but with the smaller vehicles, she tends to be absolutely fine. Now look at the little one playing with the tail. What are you doing, little one? Yes, time for a game. When Mom wags her tail, it's definitely time to play with it and try and bite it. And that you can see that curiosity of things that move is already there. So that's going to stand her in good stead when she gets a little older and has to start hunting. She's going to have a situation where she's going to be chasing lots of different things that move. And so when something twitches right near her, she's going to start trying to bite it. How cute is that? Now, I would like to ask all of you a one-word tweet as to how this little cub yanking on Thandi's tail makes you feel, because, well, for me, it is the cutest thing that you could ever ask for on a Friday afternoon, considering that there are many people that are currently in South Africa that are back-to-back wall-to-wall traffic and are sitting and staring at the backside of a car. I think it's quite wonderful that we get to sit on our Friday afternoon with the cutest little cub pulling at Mom's tail. So I would love to know what your one-word tweet is for this little cub, and, well, it's just its general demeanor and how it goes about its business, because not only does it pull Mom's tail, but it's naughty and runs around all over the place. So I would like to know how this little one makes you feel. Okay, girl. Now, sometimes she gets a bit upset with the cub playing with her tail and kind of jumping on her, and then her attention immediately turns to the nearest person that's close to her, and then she kind of just stares you down as though it's your fault, but she's seems to be okay today. I'm quite glad that Thandi is in a far more relaxed demeanor than she was right in the beginning, and she seems as though she's completely come to terms with the fact that we're following her around. Like I say, she wasn't comfortable with the cars coming here. She wouldn't have led 3 vehicles straight towards her den. We are, of course, 1 vehicle left the sighting immediately, and there's just the 2 of us here at the moment because we can't have 3 vehicles with the cub. And so the other good thing is that you can see the cub, even with 2 vehicles, is not actually too phased at all, and neither is Thandi, which is wonderful news. It's only a 1 vehicle sighting, but when you have when you have 2 vehicles here at once, then there's not really much you can do about it. It's better, rather than moving so many cars, is just to let that vehicle sit and enjoy, and then once they move out, just keep it at 1 vehicle. It does mean, however, that we're not going to be able to spend as long as I would like to spend with this little cub over the course of this afternoon, but we will try. P. Hart, you say jellified. Did I get that right, Louise? Sorry, this Game Drive Radio was also on at the same time, but jellified, I hope that means that your heart has been jellified. I don't know in what way that means. I suppose it's... Yes, maybe you can tell us what you mean by jellified, because I'm not 100% sure in what way you are referring to. But let's see if this little one is going to climb Mom, because Mom is the best mountain. It's the best game of the whole place. And, you know, there's lots of other things to go play with, but Mom is by far the best. It's nice to climb on top of Mom's head and to do all kinds of other things. And look at how gentle she is with it. So she allows it to play. There's a little bit of biting, a little bit of grooming. No, Mom, that tickles. Not the tummy. Look how the little back legs kick out sometimes. Oh, so sweet. Joe, you say humble? Well, it is a humble experience. The fact that we get to spend time with this female and her cub is humbling. And the way that she's trusting us to sit here with the cub and to enjoy it and to be a part of her most intimate sort of sections of her life is a very humbling experience. And it's something we should never really forget, because at the end of the day, you know, these things are very privileged views and something that many people in the world would wish and would love to be able to see and to participate in, and yet they can't. And so the fact that we're able to do what we do to show this to so many people that wouldn't potentially be able to get out into Africa is very humbling. Now there comes little one. It's going to come bounding along because Mom called her. There we go. Yes, Mom, I'm back. Don't worry, I was just going exploring. Now it looks as though she's going to get it. See, Thandi's actually initiating some games here. She's actually biting at the little cub and kind of just playing with it. Oh, look at that. This is the coolest thing in the world. Seb?
Amazing.
There's not many things worse than, well, better than this, is there?
So wonderful.
Guys, you're wondering what is the success rate of leopard cubs making it to adulthood? Well, it depends on the area that you're in, and it depends on a lot of different factors, but essentially you'll have a situation where here in the Sabi Sands, it's about 30% of all cubs born will make it to adulthood. Look at that face. That is the sweetest little face. And the reason why is because there's a number of male leopards out here. There is a group, there's lots of hyenas, there's lions, and all of these things potentially are dangerous. Even pythons are a potential threat for something like a leopard. And so you find that unfortunately a number of them are killed. And if you look at the cross-section of these areas and you kind of take the females that we have here, I talked about this a few days ago, but you know, you'll have a very successful female like Karula who will up the average in terms of the number of cubs that are raised successfully, and then you'll have a female like Shadow who's been unfortunate in that she's lost a few cubs, and so the average comes down to about 3 in every 10 that actually makes it into an adult leopard. So it's a low number, and it goes to show just how difficult it is for these leopards to be able to actually find their cubs and to raise their cubs to adulthood and provide for them. It certainly is no easy task, and being a mother to these little furballs, while it is incredible, and you can see that a lot of the time the moms actually glow in the fact that they've got their little cubs, and they also must go through a huge amount of stress, and so it's a difficult period, and it's difficult out here in the Sabi Sands with a high density of leopard and hyenas and lions and those kind of things. So she has a work cut out for her, and even though this cub now has gotten past the most dangerous period in that it's now past that 3-month section, it's still got a lot of danger to come, and only once it reaches, I would say, over a year old, we saw with, you know, Hosana and Shongile, they needed to be at that age to be able to fend for themselves, and so it takes quite some time for them to be able to get to that period. But you see, Thandi is amazing. She's calling that cub. She says, come, don't worry about the cars. There's a car, it moved, but it's okay. They're not going to hurt you. Just come and lie with me. Everything will be all right. And that is the key to this whole process, is that Thandi is the one that is actually teaching the cub how to be habituated. So initially, it's, you know, we spend time with them, but it's the mothers that show the cubs that we're not dangerous, we're not in any way a threat, and therefore you can come and you can lie here with them around and everything will be okay. So it's her that is the one that we need to rely on. If she's upset and she doesn't want to show us the cub and we leave her alone all the time, then that cub's going to be very skittish. But if we spend time with her and she's relaxed enough to allow that to happen, she's the one that's actually providing the amazing sort of lessons for this little cub in order to know that we are not a threat and we are okay to her. So it's an incredible thing to watch, and like I say, it's amazing to be a part of it. Now, I'm going to just sit here a little bit longer. There are a few vehicles that do want to come, so I probably will be able to sit maybe another few minutes. And while I do that, let's go back across to Steve, who I think has solved his gremlin problem, and hopefully he'll have some good news to share with you. We do indeed. So we've given a little bit of extra time. Some of the other guys are still a little far away, which is perfect and is allowing us just to have a watch of these two having the best playing time ever. You can see Thandi's teaching her a little bit. Little cub is quite feisty, I'll tell you that much. Okay, girl. That's okay. She got a little swat on the face from Thandi. And so she got a little bit upset, and you can hear another vehicle. So she's just looking and just seeing. Look at how the cub watches mom's body language. You see how it looks up at her? Just seeing, what are you doing, mom? Why are you standing up? What must I do? And maybe it's going to just pretend that it needs to sneak off a little bit down into the bottom. There we go. How cute is that? Mom is very, very pretty, though. She is, when she stands up like that, look at her. She is one of the best looking leopards we have out here, as far as I'm concerned. I know there's obviously a lot of conjecture and those kind of things, but for me, she's seriously a very, very pretty girl, and I absolutely love spending time with this cat. She's by far my favorite, and so the fact that she's had a cub on Juma is almost a bit of a dream come true, because it's allowed me to, well, allowed us really to all get a view of this little one. So it's been very nice to see, and it's good because, well, this is the third litter now that I've spent time with at this age with Thandi, which is very cool. So Wabiyiza was the first one, and then Bahuti I saw as tiny little cubs, and then now this one. Well, I say cubs because Bahuti had a sibling and so did Wabiyiza, so this is the first litter she's had that I know of that there's only the one. But it does happen as they get a little older, you will find a situation where you only get the one cub sometimes. Melissa, you're wondering if Thandi has been successful with previous litters. So yes, she has. Now, Lou, you're saying that I forgot Tamba and Kuchava. No, I didn't forget them. I was saying that as small cubs like this, I had only seen Bahuti and Wabiyiza. But in terms of the actual lineage, she's successfully raised 4 different cubs. So she's got Kuchava, Tamba. Well, Tamba was the last one, then Kuchava before that, who's now apparently a mom of her own. So Thandi has become a grandmother in this month, which is very, very cool. And then she had the 2 boys before that, Bahuti, and then the first son was Wabiyiza. Now, unfortunately for her, those 2 boys have disappeared. We don't know. Well, we know that Wabiyiza was killed by the Styx Pride, and we don't know what happened to Bahuti. But unfortunately for her, those 2 boys are no longer in the area. But Kuchava seems to have stamped her mark, and Tamba, well, he's still hanging around, and now she's got another little girl as well. So 3 boys and a girl and 2 girls. I wonder if maybe her last litter or next litter will be a girl to even the stakes, so that she has the 3 girls and 3 boys. It would be quite nice. But look at that. Is that not the naughty face of a cub that is up to no good? Give me your tail, Mom. Mom's just whacking it in the face with that tail. It's almost like a punching bag. There we go. You know, one of those punching bags you hit and it comes back at you. That's almost like what it looks like with this little cub as it grabs the tail and plays around and messes around with it. Very cool to see. Absolutely wonderful. Are you going to lie down, my girl? She is beautiful. Look how regal she is when she sits. There's one thing about cats, is whether it's a leopard, a lion, a cheetah, when they sit like that with their 2 paws straight forward, they look, you know, I suppose it's that typical cat pose, and it's what everybody always wants to see. But there we go. Game has started. Yes, that's mine. 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 That paw is massive, though. It's almost the same size as her head. Very cool. Robin, you're wondering if when would we be able to see the whisker spot pattern of this cub? Well, you probably could already make it out now if you punched in tight. They might be a bit close together, and it might be a little tight to see them, but I reckon you could probably make out roughly what that spot pattern would be. I think it would be a situation where you would probably be able to work it out. You can see the little spots over the whiskers already, so there is a spot pattern that you can work out. But she does have very unique spots already that we can use to ID her. So she's got an arrow on her left shoulder, and then her little necklace of spots that runs underneath her chin. So you can see on Mom, she's got it as well, but she's got this necklace that runs up towards her arrow on her left shoulder. You see the arrow there? It's a little kind of point that points to her shoulder, and then that bib, as we call it, or that necklace of spots, runs towards that arrow. So those are a really very distinguishing spot pattern that she's got that other leopards don't have. There it is. You can see that nice big arrow just on the sort of left side of her face, or the right side of her face if we're looking at her, but it's on her left-hand side of her body. And then she already has those little spots above the whiskers. It looks like she might be a 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 on the left side, and 1, 2, 3, 4 possibly on the right side. So it looks like she might be 4-4. I'll have to blow it up when I get home later and just have a look. So if somebody got a screenshot of her looking at us like that, then we can work out exactly what the little spot pattern is. But it looks like it's going to be 4-4, which is different to her mom. You see her mom has only got the 3 spots over the top of her left whiskers. And so even though there is a genetic, obviously she's related to Thandi, there's also a situation where there will be slight differences, but there is a thought that maybe some of the spots are handed down through the generations. It'll be interesting to know, and certainly something that I would love to kind of study and follow. Anyway, we're probably going to move out of here, and while we do that, let's go back across to James, who I'm sure is rather warm on his walk, but has managed to find something that is not nearly as cute as these little cub, or this little cub. Well, a stroke of luck has formed because we've been allowed to stay a little bit longer. So, well, we're not going to say no to staying a bit more with our little one. It certainly makes life much easier and allows us to at least get a beautiful view of this little cub. She is so, so special, and being able to spend time with her like this has just been the most amazing thing. And so I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And like I said, I don't need a second invite to be able to see this little one. Very, very cute. Now, tail has been the order of the day, so the tail game is what's been going on. We've been full mode with the tail, so it's been up and down on top of mom, and every now and then she tries to suckle, but look, you see, Thandi doesn't like when she suckles. Thandi's like, no suckling. You're getting to that age now where you're not allowed to suckle anymore, and it's hot, and I don't feel like you suckling now. So it's going to be a situation where, little one, you're not feeding, you're going to have to be with the tail for a little longer, and the tail's going to have to keep you occupied. I wonder if Thandi just uses it just to stop the little one trying to suckle, but you can see now clearly a female. When it turns its bum like that towards us, there's most certainly no boy bits underneath that tail. It's only little girl bits. Hello, little one. Yes, we're talking about you. Up the tree we go. We're going to try and balance now. This is just so sweet. Look at that. Not very balanced yet. This is the coolest thing to see. Look, she's going to jump. I think she's readying herself maybe to pop up over the top of the branch. See the little tail twitching already? I wonder if she's going to pop up over. No, she's decided the tail's too interesting. And back again to trying to play with the tail. You, I'm sure, have melted many hearts, little cub. It's amazing how much joy a little animal like this can bring into everybody's lives. You know, there's so much negativity in the world, and to be able to spend time with a little thing like this and just see youthful exuberance at its best, oh, that is the sweetest moment. Look at that. No, Mom, we're going to play now. I'm tired of the tail. I want to play with the head now and bite the ears and scratch the eyes and push the face. Very busy, though. It doesn't sit still, this little one. And all the time I've spent with it, it's always doing something. It's never just lying down, sleeping. You know, you often find cubs will be quite sort of tired and they'll spend a lot of time sleeping. But with this little one, she's been just, well, always moving, never sitting still for more than a second. She's always up to no good. And Thandi's going to have her hands full. Can you imagine when it's 5-6 months old and it can run around with her? It's going to be chaos. Look at that. Look at that. How cute is that? Sinak, you're wondering how much the cub will need to suckle. Well, I'm not 100% sure because I don't know what its weight is. It's often by weight is how much milk that they will take in. It's very difficult to know exactly how much that would be. You'd probably find, though, it would be about sort of in one sitting, maybe 4 or 5% of its body weight that it could probably fit it in, maybe even more than that. It obviously depends on on how much mom is producing and whether or not mom is tolerant of that little one suckling for a long period. But I would say about 5-6% in one little sitting, and through the course of the day, maybe closer towards sort of 10% of its body weight. Now, I was just listening to the radio because there's a very interesting update, which I wonder what's going on. Apparently, there is the 2 Birminghams within Kulma Pride on the Buffels Hook, but not too far from where they are 2 other male lines. Now, I know that cannot be the Birmingham Birminghams, because there's one Birmingham with the Styx Pride on Little Gowrie and another Birmingham in Mala Mala. So that is two different male lines that are very close to the Nkuhuma Pride with two of the Birminghams, which is certainly very interesting. I wonder if it's maybe not the Matimbas. The Matimbas have been hanging around right on the edge of our boundary, the Sabi Sands boundary, and have been inside Hoyo Hoyo and Mbali and Hamilton's, and I wonder if they haven't just come this way. It's not going to be good for them if they come across the Birminghams, because they are in frail state at the moment. They are in no way in any good shape, so it would be very difficult for them if they come across those two Birminghams. Tough life out here for any of the males, and particularly male lions when they start to get a little bit older. Right, well, while we sit with the den site in the home of this little cub, let's go across to James, who, well, has got a little home for something else. Well, I'm not sure what that was, Lou, because you were laughing, so I didn't hear what you actually said, so I missed the joke completely, but I'm sure if it came out of James Henry's mouth, it must have been entertaining. And, well, I could see Little Rebel being this little rebel, should I say, being a musician. It seems as though it loves the limelight, one, and two, just does what it wants to. So it could be maybe a rock musician, who knows. Did you see the little sneeze as well? So you see it's trying to suckle. Mom's now giving it a wash, so that's a better response than the last time she tried to suckle. So I think it's now dinner time. Remember, early dinner if you're a little one, and you've got to be in bed by the time the sun sets, and so it's time for a little drink. And then I think it's going to be time to go back and try and have a little nap. And I'm pretty sure after a bit of milk, this one is going to go to sleep. Well, I would think so anyway. I'm probably not, knowing this cub. It just doesn't seem to ever run out of batteries. It's like the Duracell ads where the bunny just never stops. It's the same thing with this little one, is that it just bounds around. It reminds me a bit of Tigger, actually, from Winnie the Pooh, in the way that it just kind of, I think if it could jump on its tail, it would, and would just bounce around all over the place. But it's very much a active, busy little body, that's for sure. Like I was saying earlier, I think Thandi's going to have a desperately tough time with this little one, especially when it goes through those older sort of cub phase where, you know, they get that, just like us as teenagers, where we think we know everything and don't really listen. Well, I think that's how this cub's going to be when it reaches sort of 6 months to a year. Thandi is definitely going to have her hands full. Who knows, maybe it will decide to kind of calm down, but you never know. I think it's going to be one of those naughty cubs that just does its own thing and runs around like a bit of a hooligan, which is quite fine with me because it's highly entertaining that it does do it. But this one's getting such a good little wash now. It's being cleaned all over the place while it's getting dinner. So the perfect system. You go get dinner and you get cleaned at the same time, and there's no need to then come back to mom later. You can go play a lot more. It extends playing time, not to be groomed outside of dinner or meal times, because if you get groomed at meal times, it means that, you know, there's more time to run around and be naughty than there is if you had to do them separately. So clever cub, I would say. Or Thandi is just trying to take advantage of the fact that it's sitting still for 2 seconds to actually clean it. Ooh, First Lady. Tough to say whether or not the cub's fur is going to be lighter. I'm not really sure. And look at that. That is the ultimate show of confidence from Thandi. The fact that she's gone absolutely flat with us. The cub is suckling. It means that she's absolutely comfortable with us being here. Now, I do apologize about Seb's shadow all over me. The only way we can park at the sighting to actually see this cub is the way we have. And this shadow then of the camera is on me. So I do apologize about that. But the fur itself, difficult to say. It's really tough at this age. She's so much darker because of all the spots at the moment. But I don't know. I mean, Tumba was a very golden cat. He's got a very kind of rich color to his coat, much more so than Thandi does. And I find Thandi, when she was younger, was also quite sort of golden color. She used to have a very deep color to her coat, and so it's going to be interesting. I'm not 100% sure, but I would imagine it would be fairly similar. I think she won't have too much of a difference. And looking at her now, even while she lies there is still a bit of coloration that's coming through, and it's not as rich and dark as maybe somebody like Tumba or Hosana. Both of them have quite gold coats in comparison to what Thandi's got. But either way, it's going to be a beautiful little animal, and it's certainly going to, I think, take off after its mom in a lot of ways, just like Kuchava as well. Kuchava is a beautiful cat as well. But look at that. That is, like I say, as best we could have it. I know when they're playing and when they're active together, it's really great. But in terms of how far we've come from the first few sightings of Thandi, where she was very aware of us, very kind of noticing what's going on, to that right there, that picture is so much more satisfying than any of the others, from a sheer point of view that it means what we're doing and the time that we're spending with her is paying off. She's getting more and more comfortable around us, that she's allowing herself to fall asleep. It means that she's not worried about us. She's allowing the cub to suckle, and that means that she's very, very, very comfortable with us in the area, which is fantastic news. It means that she's accepting us more and more as being a part of the daily life with this little cub, which is phenomenal news. I think it's going to be all quite sedate now. I don't think there's going to be too much that's going to go on. I think Thandi's going to have a rest. It's been a warm afternoon. She's been fairly busy given the sort of temperature. She must have gone off to go and sort of have a drink and then spotted impalas, and that's how we spotted her. Or, you know, and then now she's come back and the cub has been pulling at her tail. It's suckling, so I'm sure she's a bit pooped after a busy day, and I'm sure she's very happy just to take it nice and easy. But there's a little one. You can see it's suckling away. How cool is that? It's very cute. You can see the little rosettes are getting bigger now as well. They're starting to make them out a little bit around the sort of mid-drift area. You can see they're starting to expand slowly, and more of the rosettes are being visible. Very cool. And for those of you that were asking about sort of markings, that's a good sort of side profile of a screenshot if anybody wants to try and get like shoulder markings or flank markings to be able to ID this little cub in the future as it grows up. Right, suckle time. Now it's time to use mom as a pillow. Or back to the tail game, I'm not quite sure. Shame, Thandi, are you tired, my girl? Maybe Thandi just wants a break. Little one, are you going to go to put yourself to bed? Or are you going to come say hello? Got the hiccups from drinking too fast, which is very common in young animals. They do, exactly, it needs to be burped. Seb, are you offering? Seb, I think, is going to go burp Thandi's cub, which should be quite entertaining. You do have experience, yes. Seb is a father to Casey, so he's got a daughter of his own. So you know all about this stuff, Seb. Well, maybe not all of it, but certainly some parts of being a parent and raising little ones to their sort of adulthood. Well, you still got a long way to go, Seb. It's not going to be a year and a half like with the leopards. You've still got many years ahead of you looking after your offspring.
Very true.
I think the little one's gone to bed. I honestly believe that it's probably gone up this termite mound, found its little area that it sleeps in, and I think it's going to go to sleep, and we're going to be left with Thandi having a real good nap, because it went slowly up this termite mound. I haven't seen it kind of coming up onto the other side like it did earlier, and it certainly doesn't seem like it's going back towards Thandi. So I think we're very well trained. It's just decided that's bedtime. I'm going to go now. I've entertained you all enough. You now need to go somewhere else, and I'm going to go and sleep, or you can just look at mom, because, well, I'm tired of the camera and all of this showing up and gamesmanship that I've done this afternoon. Very cool to see. There you go. The picture of calm for this time being, that's for sure. She just picked up her head a little bit, so she has a situation where every now and then, if there's a little rustle, there's a bit of a breeze blowing, so there's a little rustle, or maybe she hears some sort of alarm call or something like that, she's going to head or listen in that direction. There are some Ellies around this area that I can hear north of us that I'm sure Steve saw earlier, and I'm pretty sure that she just heard maybe them cracking branches or something like that. Now, Louisa, I'm not sure if you're getting my radio beep, but I didn't get your question. If you can just repeat it for me, please. So, Scarlett, you're wondering how much sleep a leopard cub gets. Well, Scarlett, obviously, again, it's a dependent situation, but they sleep a lot more than the adults do. And we know the adults in the cat world do sleep a lot. They can sleep for, upwards of 12, 14, 15 hours a day. Oh, I see the little one. It's just sneaking, and look, it's stalking mom. Look how it's got its head low to the grass, just to the right. So, they'll probably sleep about the same. They'll probably spend a lot of time sleeping in that vicinity. Oh, no, it's it's now just relaxed. But at one point it was slinking through the grass straight towards Mom. I thought we were going to see it stalking and jumping onto Mom. So I'd imagine they sleep around there. So I would say between sort of 14 and 18 hours. Look there, the little bum is wiggling. There we go. No, we're definitely not gone to bed just yet. We're back in the game. Tails being pulled. Thandi, I'm afraid you're not going to sleep very much now at all. Little one is dragging your tail away and is going to take it with it. Or we're just going to settle and chew on it right there. That must be sore. Surely not. I mean, that little one's got teeth already, and they'll be needle-like teeth. That can't be pleasant, just having the tip of your tail chewed. I suppose it's nice and fluffy. You can actually see how matted the fur is from that little one biting on it. What are you doing? Yes, you are cute, for sure. We know it's your tail. How sweet is that? Thandi is absolutely not fazed by this. Not fazed by this at all. She's like, oh, might as well just let it happen. Eventually it'll tire out. And there we go. I think a big flop down, maybe? No, still clinging to it as much as we can. So Mike, no, not really, not in the same way that they're interacting now. So when they become independent, and depending on whether it's a young male or a female, will depend on how the interactions going forward go. If it's a female, a lot of the time you'll find that they will be quite aggressive towards one another because they are ultimately competing for den sites, for territory, for food, for water. And so, you know, there's often quite an aggressive sort of stance towards one another. I'm sure they recognize each other and they'll be growling and then they go their separate ways. So in the incidences where I've seen mother and daughters interact, it never gets actually too physical. They mostly just sit and watch each other and growl at each other, and then they just separate from there. Almost as if they know, okay, at one stage we're related, but, you know, now this is the boundary and we're going to carry on. I suppose if push came to shove and it was cubs at life at risk, then they would fight, and they probably certainly could. I mean, if you look at Shongile and Thandi, they can go at each other. But if it's a male and it is able to somehow become dominant back in that area, there is a very real possibility that mom will now turn into lover, which is not very nice at all to think about, and the son will actually mate with the mother, and it's not a great situation at all. I haven't seen it in leopards too much, but I have seen it in lions. There was the Hilda's Rock Pride down in the south of the Sabi Sand, and that Hilda's Rock Pride, the boys that were born to it eventually ended up mating with their mother and their mother's sister, so their aunt, and produced cubs with them, which is not ideal. So it obviously depends on what goes on. I think now, in terms of if Tamba came towards this little one, Thandi would be very aggressive towards him and try and push him away and just say, you know, you're not really welcome here. You need to kind of stay away from my cub. At the end of the day, it knows that Tamba, being a young boy, could potentially be dangerous to it, and so she doesn't want it around, and that's probably why we see very little of Tamba at the moment. Oh, look at this. Everything is being bitten. Yes, it's your stick. You can have it. I don't want it. Okay. Look at that little round tummy as well. You're a little fatty, actually. Obviously getting lots of food from mom. Mom is supplying you with lots of milk at this stage. And yeah, I don't know. If you don't enjoy a leopard cub, then I'm afraid there's some sort of problem in your brain that you need to go and get attended to very quickly, because you are not normal if a leopard cub does not bring some sort of a smile to your face, particularly one that is as active as this. And I think it's going to do the same thing again that it did just now. It's going to stalk the tail. Look, you see how it's slinking down? So it's already got that stalk motion, and there we go, pouncing on towards the tail. So the game that it's playing with this tail is vitally important, because it's learning to stalk and to pounce, and that's the best thing for a leopard, is the stalk and pounce. And so it's going to use those invariably through the large majority of its life going forward. So it's a very cool thing to see it being practiced, and to see this little one going about its business. I think mom's head is in trouble. How cute is that? Thandi, I'm impressed that you're still sleeping through all of this, because it is amazing that for some reason Thandi is just not waking up, even though this little one is climbing all over her. Oh no, it can't be easy to sleep with this. That's so cute. Look at how she's hugging mom. He's got legs around, arms around, everything around. I'm going to get you, Mom. That's my neck. I'm going to bite it. And she's still got her eyes closed. Shame. This is so much uncomfort, I'm sure. Anyway, it's exciting stuff. I believe Steve has had a stroke of luck and he's managed to find something that is spotted and is feline for himself.
Yes, we have, folks. We're just sitting here on the wall and we were testing out Ronald, and we have a visitor who is very interested in Ronald. This is happening right now, folks. This is live. I think this is Hosana. I'm not sure. Maybe the viewers out there can tell us. It's a 3-3 spot pattern on the face. He's only about 4 yards from us. And what a view. What a view. Unfortunately, we're not getting any view or any signal from Ronald himself. We're down here in the south trying to test that, but while we were doing so, we have been stalked upon by this beautiful cat who is looking very hungry. Any comments out there from the viewers if they know who this is? Dave, do you know who this is? It is Hosana, and he has spotted something, folks. Look at the posturing of the body now. Look at this. The wind is actually coming from directly behind us. I cannot see what he sees. But there's something has caught his attention in the bushes there. And he's going around. I think we might follow. What do you think, Dave? We'll just leave Ronald here. Or maybe I'll grab him quickly. I'll just grab him quickly. Hasana's just moved off. I'm just going to quickly grab her. No, I'm going to leave him. Hasana's now. We'll just leave him there. I thought he was going to move off a bit further. We're at Chitwa Dam, folks. We were having some signal issues, but lo and behold, we have found a leopard. Or should I say, he has found us. Dave initially thought he saw a lion walking up the hill here. It was not a lion, it is the little prince. And he is beautiful. The wind has really picked up. It was a lot blowing and gusting a lot more than it was before, and whatever it is that got his attention has now moved away, and now I think he's going to come and say hello to Ronald again, who is stranded outside of the vehicle. Look at that. You can still see he's quite a young cat. By the size, it's definitely a male. He's not a big leopard, but for his age he is. Hello, boy. Pricks of the eyes. Yes, there is lots of wind, folks. We apologise for that. He is loving little Ronald. Hey, don't bite it. There is a lot of wind coming off the dam here, folks, so we apologise for any wind audio coming through on the mic. Hosana, do not eat Ronald. Oi! Stop it! I'm not sure what to do now. Do I move him? Do I let him lick him? Let him he's made friends. He knows Ronald. He knows him very well. And he is now sitting in our shade. This is what we call a commensalistic relationship, whereby one species is using the shade created by another. Normally it is a tree that is creating the shade, and now it is us. There is the tail. I wonder what he was seeing in the bushes there. He's not doing a very good job if he is going to go that way, because the wind is blowing directly into the direction he's looking. And for a stalking, hunting leopard, that is not ideal. But the wind will mask whatever sort of movement he makes. And really apologise for the shot here, folks, but he's right behind us, and there is nowhere for us to go right now. So we're just going to hang tight, and hopefully he'll move into a better frame for us. My my friend Hosana with his friend Ronald. He is a very relaxed leopard. I could probably start the vehicle and move now. But he's feeling very playful, and when I saw his belly before, his belly looked very empty. He actually looked quite skinny. I wonder if I just move forward a little bit here and just turn. I think I might be able to get a better visual, Dave. Just hold on there. Okay, so before we move, folks, we're going to reposition here for you. And I believe Tristan has got that magnificent leopardess with her cub.
We are indeed. Now, Thandi has moved a little bit behind some thickets, and little one is playing all over this place still and is busy as ever, and has got itself up on trees and jumping again all over Mom. So I don't know why she relocated and just moved slightly, but I suppose it's fair enough. She's allowed to lie wherever she wants to, if she should choose to. And hopefully poor Ronald will not suffer the same fate as Thandi's tail and be bitten and chewed to the point where it's soggy. Hopefully Ronald will be able to get out of there with alive. It's having a rough day, poor Ronald. He's been kicked by an elephant and bitten by a leopard. How many things can say that they've had that happen to them in one day? Certainly not many, I don't think. And, well, I'll be very surprised if Ronald makes it out alive at some point, the way it's going at the moment. It seems as though the poor thing is destined to be hurt or eaten or something along those lines at some point. And, well, we'll see what happens. I'm pretty sure Hosana will lose interest fairly quickly. He did the other day. He was interested for all of about 5 seconds and then decided that he wasn't too sort of worried about it. In the meantime, though, the cuteness overload continues. It just hasn't stopped at all. And I thought after a suckle it was going to be bedtime, but no, nothing seems to slow this little cub down. It's just on full energy mode all the time. Maybe it's because Thandi left it alone for too long last night or this afternoon, and it's now decided, nope, I'm going to play as much as I can and try and bite and maim Mother as much as possible. You can see Thandi's like, no, that's sore. Don't bite my bum. I'm going to bite you back if you bite my bum. And, well, fair enough, I would say. How cool is this? I'm absolutely loving the fact that she is so relaxed with us, and I think it's possibly because we've been on our own for quite a while here at the sighting, and it seems as though as soon as there's a lack of people around and a lack of these bigger vehicles, that she tends to be that much more relaxed and that much more comfortable with what's going on. So it's perfect. Like I say, it's the best situation is just to be sitting here with this little one and having the best time. Can you imagine trying to control this? Now, at least there's one of them. Can you imagine if there was 3 of them having to look after this? Now, I know there's some leopards that have had 3, although you'll find when there's 3 of them, they tend to play with each other more than they play with Mom. But because it's got no other siblings, Mom is, well, the only source of entertainment. And so Mom gets bitten and chewed on, and oh, look at that. This is the sweetest little face. I'm intrigued to see what color these eyes go, because they're quite brownish at the moment. They're very much sort of, I suppose not brownish, they're a weird color actually, and I wonder if they're going to go as light as what Tumba's did, or if they are going to stay fairly sort of goldy like her mom has. It'll be interesting. It's always a wonder to watch leopard eye colors in the way that they change. So cute. Sometimes nice just to sit here in silence and listen to the two of them playing. It's actually very still where we are at the moment. Little breeze, but no birds are chirping. It's that time of the day where everything starts to go a little more quiet. You can see a little bit of sun that's also coming in from the western side, just touching the tops of the trees in places, but where Thandi is nice and shady, and I'm sure she'll be welcoming the relief that this shady area is bringing after a hot sort of day. I'm sure she's very happy to see the sun starting to go back down again. Oh, there we go. I love how the bum wiggles before it jumps. That's my favorite thing, is that it sits there with this little wiggly bum and then jumps all over. Mr. Q-Tip, you're wondering what is the earliest stage a cub could possibly survive on its own. The youngest that I've heard of in terms of a cub surviving without a mother was 10 months old. So that is very, very small. I mean, that's tiny. And so it's only would be 7 months from when this one, or from where this one is now. And that one was able to survive. But it's very seldom that anything under a year old survives. It's normally from a year. But the youngest I've personally seen is 10 months. I don't know of any younger than that. So I'd be interested if anybody does have any information on any cubs that are younger that have managed to make it to adulthood. I think I once read of a cub that was 8 months old once before that survived. But in my personal experience, 10 months is the youngest that I've seen that was orphaned and was able to pull through somehow and managed to find food and find a way to survive in amongst all the big leopards and eventually became territorially dominant. I suppose Hosana was also quite young. He was only 13 months old when Karula disappeared, so it's not exactly old either. And it took a lot for him to survive, especially as a young boy in amongst all of these males. Now, Lou says Sandile was 8 months when Shadow abandoned him on a termite mound, but she didn't abandon him forever. He got left on a termite mound and she went and mated, but it wasn't like she was completely gone from the area and leaving him forever and ever, and making sure that he never kind of got food again. And it was only the fact that he caught a dog that kind of extinguished that mother and father, that mother bond that he had with her. But I think she would have gone back to him. I think she would have had a situation where she mated maybe and then would have gone back to little Sandile. But either way, it's still amazing that Sandile, I wonder where he is actually. It's a question that often runs through my mind. I didn't get a chance to spend great amounts of time with him. In fact, I think I only saw him about 6 or 7 times in my entire time when I was at Simbambili, but he seemed like an incredible cat, and I often remember driving Triple M particularly, and we used to find him regularly just sitting on trees there watching all the cars going by, and you'd spend the whole day in that area. And it was quite a special cat and very relaxed, and so I often think, where is he and what's he up to? And he's probably a situation where he's just unfortunately so uncomfortable with vehicles after him being treated for rabies. And so for those of you who don't know, he caught a rabid dog and he was then treated for it, and he became a bit kind of nervous and then distributed out when Shadow chased him away. So difficult to know where he is. He could be somewhere in Kruger. I would imagine that's where he's gone. When his collar was still on, he was moving in those areas, so that's where I think he is. Right, now talking about young male leopards and distributing and all of those kind of things, Steve is with, one of our favorite young males, and I hope that he hasn't eaten Ronald as of yet.
My absolute favorite indeed, Hosana the young prince. I wasn't 100% sure when I saw his face if it was him, but there's just something about his face that tells me. I suppose I've spent more time with him than any of the other leopards, and he's definitely starting to grow on me. If you can look quite clearly at his tummy, and his tummy looks very empty. He was looking quite skinny. It's not a sign of being unwell, it's just the fact that last time I saw him he had a baby kudu inside of him, so he looked very different, and he's not panting as much as he was. He's in a nice cool shade there. He's not using our vehicle anymore. He is using the shade of an African weeping wattle, which he was the one he climbed and hoisted that baby kudu in, so he is quite a fan of the African weeping wattle. So I was going to talk to you about a tree, and it's not going to happen right now unless we lose visual of this beautiful cat, but I'm sure all of you out there will understand. There is actually a magic worry in there next to the weeping wattle, but we'll have to come back to that at another stage. He is just such a beautiful young cat, and once again he's having trouble with the flies. I could tell him that breaking off a branch of magic worry works quite well as a fly swatter, but I'm not sure if his paws would be able to hold it. I remember one of my favorite trackers ever. His name was Exon Ndlovu, wonderful old man. He had probably about 40 years of tracking experience. He didn't know too much other than tracking, and put that all into, imagine taking 40 years of your life and putting it all into one skill. Can you imagine how good you would be? Anyway, Exon taught me how to use the fly swatter, and it worked very, very well, especially when this time of year we start getting biting flies. When When you go further north, you get little mapani bees, which are stingless bees, but they like to come for the moisture and the side of your eye, and that can get very frustrating. And just a little swish of a magic worry branch seems to do the trick. Well, the little prince is having a cat nap. He was a bit excited before. The wind is maybe dropped a little bit than as from it was, but he's still alert, doing what cats do. I believe we have 2 leopards on drive this afternoon. Both are doing something quite similar. Or actually, you have 3. There's Thandi and her little cub. Beautiful. Look at that. That is the leopard foot. You can clearly see the 4 toes, and the back of the pad has got that beautiful 3-lobed shape. That is what we look for when we are tracking these cats. The hyena's track looks very different. The back pad is 2-lobed, and if you can see those spaces between the toes themselves and between the back pad, between the toes and the pad, that is what we call negative space. And in lions and leopards, that's what we see in the track. We see that space in the sand. In hyenas, those toes and those pads are very, very close together, and they almost pinch the soil. It's very characteristic in the track. There you can see it quite clearly, that negative space. And in very nice, fine, sandy soil, you can actually see the hair from around the toes and in between the foot there. You can actually see that in the sand, but on normal road conditions, that's not visible. And unlike the hyena, the leopard does not show its claws in its track unless it is running extremely fast. You don't often see it, whereas the hyena, which is not able to pull its claws back in, is always visible. The claw marks are always given away. What a beautiful boy. Yeah, he looked at me when I said that. Look at that face. He's so regal. He is such a prince. So folks, we're going to stay with Hosana and see what he gets up to, but in the meantime, Mr. Hendry, I believe, is on foot with a big elephant.
Well, thankfully he's not a very big Ellie. He's a young bull, and just like a young leopard, they are wonderful to view on foot, because if he does get wind of us, he's unlikely to do anything too untoward, and without the odd clap of the hand, he'll probably back off. I've been sat here now, trying to do a promotion for our TV show, really disastrous effort at doing my lines, and he's just stood there very, very kindly and allowed me to do them 3 or 4 times while we've been here. Unfortunately, he does seem to have, a piece of him sticking out that you don't really want to see on a promotional package for a Safari Live team. Okay, we're going to go to an unscheduled broadcast now. Welcome everybody to the Greater Kruger National Park of South Africa. We're sitting here with an elephant bull on foot. It's a gorgeous Friday afternoon. The sun is just about to sink over the western horizon, and I'm sitting here. I couldn't be happier. My name is James Hendry. We've got VM on camera, and that elephant over there has no name. I don't think he might have a name. Please ask us any questions you'd like to, and send us any comments, and we're going to see if we can't follow this young bull for the next little while. It's such an honor to be with him, because he's a young bull, and so he's not particularly likely to sort of show any kind of irritation with us, and if he did, his irritation would be just to move away. Young animals like this, or young bulls just coming out of puberty, it's almost the same with the cats as well, and the buffalo, they react in a way that is really endearing. They are still confident enough to be around us on foot, but at the same time they maintain some of their youthful curiosity, and so there's this beautiful kind of fine balance where he's definitely aware of us here, but he's not afraid enough to go away, and he's not irritated enough to try and chase us off. We're only standing about, I'd say about 40 meters from him or so, which is about 140 feet. Kobe, it was a wonderful question. You say, what am I feeling right now? Kobe, you're 15 years old, and what I feel is a sense of honor, I suppose, that I'm being allowed into his space like this. There's a little bit of fear involved because he is a huge elephant. I mean, he probably weighs in the region of 4,500 kilograms, about 11,000 pounds or so. And the other thing I feel, though, Kobe, much more than I do any kind of fear, is a sense of connection. A connection with something much more wild than us as human beings can. Now he's seen us. Well, he's seen us before, I think. Elephant's sight is not bad. I just think he's choosing not to worry about us. Also, the wind has been very good for us so far. So if I flick my little ash bag, you can see the wind is blowing from there over us. So he's not picking our smell up, and they don't like our smell. It tends to make them react much more than the sight of us. Cookie, you want to know if he's old enough to find a mate? Well, theoretically he is. Theoretically, I mean, he is probably old enough to sort of produce viable gametes, if you like, but he's nowhere near old enough in an area like this, which is an open system of 2.5 million hectares or so. In fact, it's even more than that, it's 3.2 million hectares. He's not big enough to compete in an open system like this for the big with the big elephant bulls for mating rights. I'm just going to sit here and let him walk past us. I would say that he's about 18 years old or so, maybe a little bit younger. See, he's being curious now, which is very special. Just turning and looking every so often. Keith, you're wondering how much elephants weigh. Well, a big bull will weigh 6 tons or so. So that's about 14,000 pounds odd, 6,000 kilograms. But this chap, having seen him now, I said 4,500 earlier. I think he's probably slightly lighter than that. He's smaller than a big cow. A big cow is about 4,500, and I would say that he probably weighs in the region of 3,500 kilograms. Still, that's not a small animal. Hello, fellow. You're being so very friendly to us to allow us to walk around you like this. Well, Sue, you're not wrong. You say you thought elephants moved in herds. They do move in herds. When they are youngsters and when they're with females, at least when the female... Oh, look at this. He's moving that to get at the grass. Sue, it's the females and the youngsters that live in herds. Young bulls like this have probably just been thrown out of the herd. So they get a little bit boisterous when they hit puberty, just like male human beings. And then when they get boisterous like that, the older females toss them out. This is just magnificent. This elephant is now no more than 30 meters from us. He's not reacting to us in the slightest. He's just moving that tree to get at the fresh, shaded grass underneath. And you're wondering at what stage he would have left the herd. Well, if he's at 17 or 18 years, I don't think he's left the herd more than a few months ago, I wouldn't say. Maybe up to a year ago. You'll find that the separation from the herd is not a sudden thing. They just start to, I mean, you know what teenagers are like when they start to assert their independence. They just spend more and more time away from home, but in contact for safety, for the feeling of security that home gives, and slowly, that kind of home bond is broken. And that's exactly what happens with elephants in the herd. They just slowly start spending less and less time with the herd until one day the herd moves in one direction and they move in the other, and they don't feel the need to go back. And for a chap like this, I mean, it can be a lonely life, but they often hook up with other youngsters like this. Now, Jason, they do eat a huge amount every day. There are no hugely accurate measurements on how much they eat, but the general figure that's tossed around is about 250 kilograms, about 600 pounds of food for a big bull elephant. So this chap will probably eat, I'd say, around about half that. He is still growing, so maybe a bit more than half. So let's call it 150 to 200 kilos of food a day, most of which, of course, will come out as dung. I can't express to you how special this is, because normally an elephant this close to you is going to react quite adversely. He's going to either stick his head up in the air and kind of freak out, stick his tail out and run away, or he's going to come towards you and say, "Get out of my space." And if you don't heed that warning, then, it can be quite nasty. This guy, there's no ways he doesn't know we're here. Is just going about his business as though we're having a quiet drink, minding our own business in the same bar or restaurant. Karen, you want to know how long they live for? Well, in this area, probably around about 60 years or so. Maybe a little bit longer, 60 to 65 years. And in some areas where their food is a bit softer, like, say, the Okavango Delta, they might live a bit longer, because they die, of course, when their last molars, when their teeth wear out, they eventually starve to death. I'm just going to move slowly this way. I must just tell you, I read something fascinating today about lobsters. Lobsters show no visible signs of aging, and they are therefore, in theory, immortal. It's got nothing to do with elephants. Let's just walk slowly out this way. What I don't want to do is provoke him or push him too hard, because he's been so confiding. He's been so kind to us to allow us to be in his space like this. I just got myself attached to a bush. I'm off now. And slowly the kind of daytime creatures are starting to quiet down. And the wind is starting to blow straight towards him, and he's still not reacting. All right, everybody, I think we're going to let him wander off down into the drainage system here. What a Friday afternoon. If you've enjoyed this, please do join us on our daily broadcasts. You can find us on YouTube. Just check out Safari Live and you'll find us there. Otherwise, watch whatever social media platform you're looking at for further notifications of when we come to you live from the wilderness of Africa. People, this is an absolutely astounding sighting. I think we must just go a little bit round this way. I'm not going to try and get any closer to him. But let's just see if we can't get a view. We don't get views of elephants like this in vehicles. Hi. Okay, now the wind's changed. It's blowing straight onto him. He's still not reacting. How's this elephant? I can't believe this. I mean, he's not, what, 15 meters from us? What's your focus say?
No, it's like 4 meters.
I'm just going to lean quietly against this log here and enjoy myself. We were talking about the Friday afternoon, you know, many people going off to the watering hole of their choice. I feel like I'm leaning on the bar here now, Wiem, and we might order an apple juice or an ice cold brewski from him. Think he'd bring us one?
Sure.
I say, my man, what craft beer are you serving? Yes, I should have thought of that. Fiona says he's serving Tusker. He's giving us a little bit of a sniff, but he's really not. He's not in the slightest bit fazed by the fact that there are 3 human beings standing here with him. He's eating, what is he eating? He's eating some Sisyphus. That's his Friday afternoon food. He's a little bit lower down from us, but he wasn't to start with, you know. I mean, he's chosen to go down and give himself the disadvantage of the drainage system or the little riverbed. I thought Herbert was trying to get our attention, but actually he wasn't. He was just so amazed at what we were watching here. Really, a young male animal out here is the best thing to see. Just this perfect age. Yeah, Jerry, you say, would we have an escape route planned? Yes, we do. We do have an escape route planned. I mean, the escape route is just to walk straight backwards. Normally, Jerry, we wouldn't let an elephant get anything like this close to us. If this was an adult cow or an older bull, we'd have moved away. We wouldn't have stood out here in the open with him. We'd have tried to stay hidden. And what he would have done, much more likely than come towards us, is just back off, which is why a young bull like this is you can take some, not chances with, but you can experiment with a little bit. But this guy has just walked very calmly, slowly towards us, hasn't opened his ears out at all, has showed no signs of distress whatsoever. And so, you know, if he'd really decided that he didn't like us and chased us, well, we'd probably be in trouble from here. But he's just not going to do that. Well, everybody, we've come sort of to the end of yet another sunset safari. Thank you very much for joining us. Huge thank you to those who brave the weather in Kenya on a daily basis. It really is quite astounding how much it rains there. Mostly to all of you for your questions and comments. Remember, we will be on air again at 0500 Central African time tomorrow. Until then, for the last view of the elephant, bye-bye.